Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Today we're going to be making a Bladesinging Wizard build. Now before we get into the build, picture this. Now you're in an encounter, it's not going very well. Your party members, they're falling left and right. Now your Bladesinger, you still have your climax up and you are able to sweep in there, take out the last enemy, pick up all your allies in one turn, and that just feels so good. Although, you wouldn't have been in that situation if you didn't party up with a bunch of glamour bards. Anywho, point is, Bladesinging Wizard is very strong and very unique to Baldur's Gate 3. So without wasting any time, let's get into it. Now here we are at level 1 here. Everything in Character Creator completely up to you. Those are all like RP choices, and I don't think any of them are going to have like a drastic effect as far as like how successful you're going to be with a Bladesinger. Now for level 1 here, we are with Shadowheart, and she initially gets Firebolt all on her own. And that comes into play when we're talking about our cantrips. Obviously, the class we're going with is Wizard. And so moving over to our cantrips, I think a must pick here is Booming Blade because Bladesinger has a melee element to it. So Booming Blade here, perfect for it. As far as your other cantrips, I would just go with either a range cantrip or utility. So if I already didn't have Firebolt, I would choose that. But for this instance, I'm just going to pick up Ray of Frost and then Minor Illusion for some utility. And then when it comes to your spells, a lot of these spells are going to be kind of up to you depending on what you want your wizard to be doing. Because unlike something like, say, Draconic Sorcerer and then picking Red Dragon, which then synergizes with Fire Magic, you don't really have that as a wizard or a Bladesinging Wizard. So kind of pick whatever spells you think are going to be really useful. I will say something like Magic Missile is going to be very good, and then Shield as well. Those are the two that I would lock in. Everything else, kind of up to you. Now, ability points. You're going to want high dexterity, and then you're going to want high intelligence. Constitution, we're actually going to have very good Constitution as far as saving throws once we pick up our subclass, but 14 Constitution is good there. You could also go Strength, but I think with this build, I think it is better to go daggers or short swords or something one-handed that you can dual wield for like stat sticks. Although if you really want to go something like a long sword and have some strength with it instead, you totally can. That is viable. I talked a lot about that in the test server with Bladesinger, but for this video, I think I'll cool it and I'll go with like pretty much like kind of the normal thing to do. But that's level 1 out of the way. Let's move on to level 2. And at level 2 here, we pick up our subclass, which is Bladesinging. I'm going to be calling it Bladesinger, just rolls off the tongue better. But subclass features wise, we get our Bladesong powers. We start off with 2 initially, and that gets increased at level 5 and 9. And then we also pick up training in War and Song. This is going to make us proficient in light armor, and then have the ability to use daggers, sickles, short swords, rapiers, scimitars, and long swords. So we get some nice weaponry to use, because like I said earlier, a little bit of a martial class as well as a spellcaster. I guess you would just call that a hybrid. Anywho, we use our Bladesong power to channel basically Blade Song. So this is our class action. So when we go into Bladesong, we're going to get +2 AC, and we're also going to get a bonus to our Constitution saving throws. Now initially it's just +2, but similar to our Bladesong powers, at level 5 and level 9, this is going to get bumped up. Now when it comes to Bladesong, you cannot use Bladesong if you have something like heavy armor or you're wearing a shield. So if you were thinking about multi-classing with Bladesinger here, and you want to do that for heavy armor, like if you paired it with fighter, yeah, you wouldn't be able to use Bladesong, and so that doesn't really synergize. Now additionally with Bladesong, when we enter this form, every time we basically cast a spell, it's going to add a damage charge, a Bladesong damage charge to our character here. And every time we do a melee strike, and that also can be a cantrip melee strike like Booming Blade, it'll get a healing charge. And so these charges build up, and then we have a bonus action called Bladesong Climax that we basically can. It's like a little teleport or a jump, and then you enter an area and you basically just sweep an AoE around you, and any allies get healed, including yourself, and any enemies are going to be damaged depending on how many charges you have of both. So that might sound a little complicated, or maybe I just explained it poorly, but the basics are you use your Bladesong class action, and then every time you use a spell slot, you will gain a Bladesong damage charge, and every time you use your melee, including something like Booming Blade, that cantrip, you will gain a healing charge. And as your charges build up, you can basically unleash all of them at once when you use Bladesong Climax, which is a bonus action. It's a very unique playstyle, and it's a lot of fun. Now, next up, we go back to our spells. Again, we're still at level 1 spells here. These are just kind of up to you. Now, then we get our Bladesinger's weapons. Now, these weapons, this really doesn't matter. This just gives you a gray version of whatever weapon you choose here. If you pick something like a dagger and you have that spell animation where you shoot your spells out of your dagger, you can then switch to a short sword at any time and then do the same thing with the short sword. It's not like it locks you out of anything here. So basically just one of these choices just going to give you a gray version of that weapon. No big deal. So that's it for level 2. Let's go ahead and jump on to level 3. Level 3. Now for level 3, we get our level 2 spell slots. So I would actually recommend picking up something like Misty Step for more mobility, and it's a bonus action. So it'd be a way to build up more damage charges easily. So I'd go with that. And I'd go with something like Shadow Blade. This is an excellent melee weapon. It's a short sword. You basically can summon this. It's not a concentration. It'll last between long rest. And as our spell slots increase, you can upcast Shadow Blade. I believe 3 and 4, it does the same amount of damage, more than this level 2 version. And then 5 and 6, it does the maximum damage it's going to do. And so the way I've been playing is I'd have like a short sword or a dagger in my main hand, some sort of nice damage or like stat stick, and then use Shadow Blade to be in my other hand. So I'm basically dual wielding weapons. So that way I have a action and a bonus action way to build up healing charges. So that's level 3 out of the way. Let's go ahead and jump on to level 4. Level 4, down by the river. All right, level 4 here. We pick up another cantrip, kind of up to you. I'm just going to pick Toll Dead. Spell wise, again, kind of up to you. I really like Scorching Ray and I really like Mirror Image. Mirror Image is a nice, I would say, defensive option because we are going to be in melee range. We can use this while we're in combat and we're going to get more AC. It's only going to be a level 2 spell slot, and then we're going to get a damage charge out of it as well. So really nice there. As far as our prepared spells, I guess this is a good time to talk on them. So let's just get a clean sweep here. And let's talk about each one that I like to pick. So Magic Missile, this is just really good to ensure that you hit your target. Easy way to build up damage charges. You can spam Magic Missile. I actually like this build, building into Magic Missile a lot because Magic Missile, again, it's just so reliable. The other one here is Shield. So in the test server, Shield actually did not build up a damage charge when you used it as a reaction. But I'm happy to report that in the live version now, this shield will, when you use shield as a reaction, you will build a damage charge, even if it's on a magical item or like something like an amulet that gives you a spell. Yes, that is going to build up damage charges now. So to fill out the rest of our prepared spells here, something like Long Strider and Enhanced Leap, if you don't have a character that is providing either one of those, that's a good choice. Misty Step, beautiful mobility, gonna want that. Shadow Blade, already talked about how I'm using this as like an offhand or a main hand. And then something like Mirror Image as well, really good. And then something like Scorching Rays or Burning Hands, these are good too if you want to put those in there. But just for this video right now, these are kind of like my main staples that I'm going with. Feat wise, ability improvement is probably going to be the go-to. It's kind of boring, but easy way to bump up your intelligence or your dexterity. Now there are gloves that provide you 18 dexterity, and there's a headpiece that puts your intelligence at 17. So technically, if you have both those items, you can completely dump both of those stats and then build something like Constitution up, Wisdom up, or even Strength up, whatever you want essentially. So just keep that in mind if you're looking at ability improvement. Something like Alert is always going to be really nice. If you're going to be a crazy son of a gun and go with a longsword, Great Weapon Master is a great way to build into being a melee character here. Lucky is always good as well. But other than that, yeah, I just make usually the boring choice here. It's with either ability improvement or alert. You guys can let me know what other feats you guys like to use with your Bladesinger, because yeah, with my mind right now, these are just what I'm locked into and I can't seem to like shake out of it. So those are kind of the feats that I would be juggling for right now. I'm just going to bump up my intelligence and then we can move on to level 5. And now at level 5 here, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to get more Bladesong power charges. In addition to this, that Bladesong, our stance there, also going to get a bump in the AC and the Constitution saving throw bonus we get. That also happens at level 5 here. We also pick up our level 3 spells, and the ones I would go with is Haste. I think this is really important, especially because this is a great way this is like a follow-up to when you go into your Bladesong, you then cast Haste on yourself. You get more AC on top of your Bladesong AC, and then I would go with something like Counterspell, similar to Shield. When you use this reaction and you're in your Bladesong stance, you will gain another damage charge. So having Counterspell and Shield, it's a great way to use your reaction. You then would have something like Magic Missile, like we talked about earlier, just a really reliable action spell, and then Misty Step as a bonus action to build up, again, more Bladesong damage charges. So at level 5 here, we kind of hit that next like rung of like power. I think you get a big spike here as a Bladesinger, and this is when the subclass starts feeling really, really strong. So I would definitely make sure to slot in both Counterspell and Haste, and then we can move on to level 6. All right, Wizard players, be honest. How am I doing so far? You guys thinking about giving me that club invitation back? I know I lost it earlier, but I feel like we're doing a good job here. Anywho, level 6 here, we pick up extra attack. Again, feeding more into that hybrid martial side we get. Spell-wise, I don't think anything here is super crucial. Obviously, picking up something like Fireball for it's just such a great spell. Great damage. And then Lightning Bolt to kind of get that line AoE, also a really good damage spell there. Some other good ones, you know, Glyph of Warding I really like as well. But as far as like level 3 spells, a lot of good choices here. It's kind of hard to go wrong, and we can move on to level 7. Now, level 7 here, I think we can just start rapid firing basically through these. I would pick something like Fire Shield. Again, this is another great defensive option. Confusion, if somebody doesn't have this is excellent versus bosses. But if you have like a sorcerer or a bard who can do confusion really well, I would go something like Ice Storm. This is a great AoE, especially since it puts that ice sheet on the ground, really puts everybody prone. It's hilarious to watch, really good there. But we can move on to level 8. Level 8. And at 8 here, spell-wise, always just kind of like pick up what you want. Maybe you don't have somebody who can basically remove curses. Maybe you want some Dimensional Door, or maybe some greater invisibility. You got a lot of options as a wizard to kind of be like that jack of all trades when it comes to spells. Feat-wise, I'm probably just going to bump up my dexterity for the gameplay section. I don't think I'm going to be utilizing really like crucial items that are going to bump up my stats, so this would be a good choice for me right now. And we can move on to level 9. And then at level 9 here, we are going to pick up our final Bladesong power charges. In addition to that, our Constitution saving throw bonus and our AC bonus with Bladesong, that is now I think going to be bumped up to 4, and that's the final bump that's going to get. Spell wise, kind of pick what you want. I'm just going to go with Cone of Cold. I like that. And I'll go with Hold Monster. That's really good as well. And we can move on to level 10. Now at level 10 here for Bladesinger, we do get a really nice defensive option and then a Song of Defense. So basically when we're attacked in Bladesong, we can use a spell slot to subtract 5 damage depending on the level of that spell slot. So if you use a level 1 spell slot, that's just going to be 5 damage. If you use a level 2 spell slot, that's going to be 10 damage. And obviously that'll scale all the way up to level 6 spell slot. So really handy way to basically mitigate damage. Again, this character is going to be in melee range or close to it. At least they have that option being like a hybrid subclass. So just a nice class feature here. We do pick up another cantrip. Pick what you want here. Same thing goes for the spells, and we can move on to level 11. At level 11, we get our level 6 spell slots, and honestly, there's a lot of great choices here. Something like Chain Lightning, really useful. Globe of Invulnerability I like, but you know, there's a lot of scrolls with this, so you have a lot of good choices here. You can kind of tell that at this point, picking spells, whatever you're going to pick, it really comes down to just what you want and then what benefits your party. I think we already picked up what we absolutely needed, and that was very early on. And I'm kind of going to say the same thing at level 12, so let's just go ahead and get this leveling section done. I'm going to pick up Disintegrate, I really like this one, and Chain Lightning, and then we can move on to level 12. And quickly going through level 12, again, just pick up whatever you want. And then feat wise, Alert would be really nice, but I think I'll just go with Ability Improvement. I'm going to bump up my Intelligence all the way. That way my fireballs have like the best chance of succeeding and doing their full damage. And I think that's about it. So now we can talk a little bit about multiclassing. Now let's briefly touch on multiclassing. And actually in the gameplay section, I'm not going to show any multiclassing because I like Bladesinger basically all by itself. Now, there are some good multiclass options, and one that I kind of want to highlight here is Druid, and more importantly, Circle of the Stars Druid. Now, when you're in Bladesong stance, and then you are in Starry Form Archer, your Luminous Arrow actually counts as a spell. At least that's the way it's coded, and will add to your damage charge for your climax. So that is a really nice way to basically use your bonus action to build up damage charges. Now, something like the Dazzling Breath in the Dragon form, unfortunately, that does not build up a damage charge. But again, Luminous Arrow does. So essentially, you can enter Bladesong, you can use your Booming Blade to build up a healing charge, and then you can use your Luminous Arrow to build up a damage charge, and both of those are essentially resource free, as far as not using a spell slot. So I really like that. And I think the last multiclass option I'll mention is Sorcerer. Now, if you start off as Sorcerer, you'll get a Constitution Proficiency bonus as well. And we've already talked about during Bladesinger, that leveling process, how much your Constitution saving throws, those get bumped. So add that with Sorcerer as well. And ooh, again, breaking concentrations are going to be very, very difficult if you go this route. And of course, the big ticket item with Sorcerer is their meta magics, which are beautiful with especially something like Bladesinger, which we're going to benefit with those Bladesong charges. And you can essentially just pick a bunch of utility or spells that don't basically scale off your spellcaster modifier with sorcerer, so you really don't need to invest into charisma. But we could basically make a whole video on multiclassing with Bladesinger, and I've kind of already done that because everybody's going to benefit from like a hybrid subclass like Bladesinging. So let's go ahead and jump to the gameplay section where it's going to be a little bit different this time around. Now in the gameplay section here, I know all of you are dying and wondering, wow, what is going to be the difference? Well, this time we're going to be in Act 2 and not level 12. I've kind of already mentioned how I feel like this subclass is very feature complete at like level 5. And here we are level 7. We just went full Bladesinging, and our equipment here, we'll quickly just go through it. It's nothing special. We are getting a little bit of dexterity from graceful cloth here, and then the Helldust gloves, because this isn't armor. We can wear these for a little damage bump to our melee weapons, but just essentially very easy stuff to pick up essentially at this point in the game. So nothing too crazy. And it's kind of tricky to talk about equipment when it comes to Bladesinging because they benefit from essentially almost like every piece of equipment, because again, we are a very strong spellcaster and we also have great martial potential as well. So really any piece of item, you're probably going to be looking at and be like, huh, I could probably get a use out of this with the Bladesinger. So your party members, yeah, they might get a little annoyed with you looking at every piece of item, but they're a bunch of glamour bards, so who really cares? Anywho, we already started off the encounter here and we are first in the turn order because our dexterity is so high. So before we really start getting into the mix, we want to use our Bladesong. Again, this is just going to use a charge and it doesn't take a bonus action or an action. So now the rest of the time here, we basically want to ensure that we're building up these charges. And honestly, because we're going solo here and there are a few targets, should probably build up some defense. But first, haste. But you can see on our first turn here, casting it, we'll get a Bladesong charge right off the bat. We can then follow up with something like Mirror Image or Flame Shield, or I guess it's called Fire Shield, or we could open up with a damaging spell, but we're gonna lure them all in. So let's go ahead and just give ourselves a little bit of survivability. And I already have Shadow Blade casted as well. You can kind of see how much damage it's pulling in there, which is it's a fair bit for a short sword, especially this just in Act 2 here. But we also have our bonus action, so we could save Misty Step, but we could also just build up another damage charge and just get a little bit of distance. We don't want to get too far away from them. And yeah, that's our first turn there. And as you can see, we already got 3 damage charges. So let's end our turn and see what happens. So the shadows are coming in. They're going to try to hit us. They're not going to be able to. We got really high AC, especially with Mirror Image. Another miss. So I think we'll start off, we'll do a Booming Blade. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a healing charge. And because we have Shadow Blade and we're obscured, we have advantage. We just instantly deleted them there. Too much damage. But we're going to run up there. We have our extra attack as well. So we're going to go ahead and get an easy strike in there. Just, oh god, too much damage. Damn it. We're going to end up killing everything before we get to climax. And that's no fun. But we'll hit the pack here with a fireball. Beautiful. And then let's get a little bit of distance again. And you can see that, yeah, we already have 2 healing charges and 4 damaging charges. So we'll end our turn. Somebody's trying to hit us with range. We can use our shield as a reaction, and then that builds up another damage charge. And so this is what I think I want to do here. I'm going to hit this target here with the Booming Blade. Beautiful. I'm going to do a magic missile on this target over here. I'm just going to do level 1. Okay, so I have six charges. So I think I'm going to use my climax. And you'll see with the climax here, when we're trying to find a spot basically to jump into, if you're in melee range, there's a good chance you're going to provoke somebody's opportunity attack, but our AC is really high, so not really a big deal, but just be prepared for that. But I think this is a good spot. Let's see if we can land it and then take all 3 of them out at once with 6 charges. I mean, that's a lot of damage there. We can kind of see the breakdown. Now, I do wish that this was a little bit more clear. I would like to see basically all those rolls added up in the damage log for when you use your climax. But this is still a nice chunk of damage. And because, like I said earlier, this Bladesong is not an action or a bonus action, we can just use it again, and then we're going to get that AC bump. We're going to get that Constitution saving throw bump as well. So Really handy, especially when we have more charges to play with, to just keep using them. Now we still have our extra attack, and man, yeah, these guys just, they're barely hanging on. Let's go ahead and hit him. And then we have our healing charge, and then we can just end turn. Try to hit us, they're gonna miss. Sap our strength, but we don't have any strength. Come on in. We're gonna get a shield, and then we're going to get another damage charge. Let's hit him with the fireball. Yeah. Follow up with a booming blade. Beautiful. Let's turn off using our bonus action, get the one stab in there, and then we can use our climax again to basically shorten the distance and get right up on our target. Might even kill him. Nope, close though. And then we could go into Blade Song again, but I don't really think we need to. They only have 10 health left. And it's basically over. Oof. So hopefully you can see that Bladesinger here, yeah, the power potential with this subclass in this build is really, really high depending on how you build up your charges. Now for most people, maybe this is a little bit of a middle of the road subclass, but it is a lot of fun and it's very unique. Obviously, if you want to save on your resources, because me being solo here, I drained a lot of my resources, but going that starry form, that luminous arrow, using your bonus action to build up a damage charge without using a spell slot, that can be really handy. But hopefully I had some of you who usually don't gravitate towards wizard, maybe you'll give this a try. I'm not usually a wizard player, but I think Bladesinging is so much fun that I had to give it a try, and it is a lot of fun. But that's the build, that's the video. If you made it this far, thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Peace and take care.